Yo, yo, yo. What is up, guys? Welcome back to TWE Charts. We're going to be looking at phases today. All right, cycle and the phases. And more importantly, with this indicator, we're going to be looking at the macro chart. So I'm using the daily interval, and we'll play around with the weekly as well. Now, this is very important to analyze here on AMC for a few reasons. In Wyckoff and in the cycle, when you're looking at phases, it's important to identify which phase you're in, right? This indicator right now is telling us that we're in reaccumulation, which is something that I've been saying for a little while. And I'll show you guys why this makes sense. But first, obviously, we do have to understand what this indicator is, what it's doing. So I'll talk about that a little bit. But before that, guys, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Helps out the channel. And let's get started. Okay. So, a few things. We're going to cover first. So the purpose, obviously, of this indicator is to highlight which phase it thinks that the security is trading in, right? So currently, we are trading in reaccumulation. Again, from what we know, AMC has been in a macro distribution phase since June of 2021, right? That was the peak here. That was the peak point to where it started to come down. Now, in order to display this indicator here, we need to add some parameters. So what I'm using, okay, is the length of the cycle, which is 62 days, right? And then we use the 120-day theory, which is what we used for January 2021 going into May, and then as well as the March going into August. Both of those are using the 120-day cycle. So we're using that, and that is what's calculating here the length of the indicator. Okay. Now, this will identify each phase. Okay, the logic that it's using is, or we're using a smoothing filter to be able to calculate where AMC is trading, and then we also are using the ROC. So the changes indicator that I've been talking about here for a little while, okay, this guy is integrated into this indicator above, the phases indicator. Now, there's a couple of things I want to also talk about this indicator. With this indicator specifically, the ROC rate of change, okay, on the daily chart, we are coming back down to retest one last time. And usually this does a really good job at showing us whether the prices are oversold or overbought, like the chart would normally not show us, right? That's why we use these indicators. And coming back down here on this fourth retest, every single time it has been respecting. So if you put the two together, right, we have this macro distribution phase here. You can see it's highlighted purple and red, right? That's going to tell us that we're in a declining stage in the markets, and you're going to see little periods of reaccumulation here in purple and then declining in red, okay? Now, the all-time low here on AMC, which you can see on the ROC indicator as well, is right around that 90% range. And the way that this indicator is highlighting and telling us that we're in reaccumulation is, well, now that we come back in that green zone, right? This is the threshold here, 0. We come back into that green zone, which we haven't done since June, okay? So we have a volatility threshold, right? And we also have a consolidation threshold. On average, AMC is going to consolidate between the 25 and 40% range, but in the cycle, we track the volatility threshold at 70. That means that once it does reach that 70% mark or higher, it'll pretty much highlight that portion green, okay? And we've seen that in June, right? Now, because we're using the length of 120, you're not going to see anything that is shut down right away, right? So these volatility zones, you're going to see those more clearly here on the ROC indicator. Once it does reach that 70% mark, goes a little bit higher, you're clearly going to see those spikes down here. But yeah, these two indicators are basically clashed together to make this one called phases. And it's telling us that we're in reaccumulation. Now, we haven't seen a reaccumulation phase on AMC since June of 2020. Okay, that was pretty much the last time we saw a little bit of blue here, following the COVID little correction. And then following that, we have one more, right? We have one more, we call this a level projector, where we experience volatility, it gets shut down, we have a double bottom, and then that's what starts this entire reaccumulation phase on AMC, right? Because it's very choppy. Reaccumulation is basically it's the next thing that happens after accumulation, right? So this is accumulating, and then once it's done, it goes up to the next level, right? And that is where reaccumulation starts. And then as soon as we cross that volatility threshold, okay, that becomes advancing. And everything in green here is considered advancing. All right. Now, after this, you can see everything here on the threshold is right below. It's on the 0 mark. So everything starts dumping, and you never see, right? You never see the price back above. You have these little stages, right? These little volatility windows where the price goes up and it gets shut down, and it keeps trading below that threshold. Okay, AMC has not been trading below that threshold for a while now. Okay, since May of this year, right? May of this year, it started trading above the threshold, and this is what's important, guys, when you're tracking the 120-day cycle. That has not happened on AMC since, again, 2020. So this is very crucial here, because you put the two together, and we're tracking the quad witching cycle here with candles as well, and it kind of tells you the same story, right? That we have not seen back-to-back 2 green candles. These are quad witching candles. We've only seen 2 in one cycle, right? January to June, and then prior to that, right here, we see a red and then a green candle, right? And that's still considered the accumulation phase. This one is just a lot bigger. Okay. So all this stuff, guys, is very relevant here to understanding the trajectory on AMC. I posted something on X the other day, and people were saying, right, like, what's bullish about this? And we've been talking about this trajectory. The trajectory is the important part. Yeah, AMC is obviously trading at all-time lows, but we're talking about this trajectory using the quad witching dates, right? And that trajectory is pointing up. It's very slightly pointing up, but it's still pointing up. And then to back that up, right, we have this indicator here, the phases indicator, telling us that we have not seen a reaccumulation phase that has lasted this long. This has been over 120 days now, right, where AMC has been in reaccumulation, but it has not seen these oversold levels anymore, right? Anything that is trading above that threshold will be either a accumulation or reaccumulation phase or advancing, and anything below is going to be redistribution, distribution, or declining. And we are trading above it right now, right? So pretty awesome stuff. Okay. Here's a nice little trick as well. You use 120-day length on this chart, and it tells you the same thing, right? It's pretty much what this indicator is doing, so you guys understand it a little bit. AMC has been trading above that threshold here using the same parameters for over 120 days. So it's going to highlight that portion. And there's a couple of other things, right, that are important with this indicator, why it tells me reaccumulation and not advancing, right? Because we're still trading in that 25% consolidation period threshold. And that is enough for it to basically tell us, right, that we're still consolidating, we're stagnant, we're not going up to that next range yet. These guys are just, they're killing it with the theta crush here that we've been talking about. So until we get that next volatility zone, whether it happens this week or next week, right, that is going to tell us a lot about AMC. Now, we do have a small catalyst here. I'm saying a small catalyst, but obviously a GME is not up that much. But this catalyst here on GME with the completion of the offering could potentially do something here in the next few days. But even if this next POI here is a sideways trading POI where it just trades sideways and it's neutral, okay, doesn't matter. Going to any of the next POIs that we start tracking, as soon as we start crossing above, we're more likely going to see a advancing stage on AMC, right? It's been way too long, guys. The trajectory is curving. It's unlikely that this would turn into another distribution, right? If we saw AMC cross back down into that $4 range, then yes, I would say that this would be considered another very large fake out to be able to see reaccumulation followed by a dump. You can see back here in 2020 we saw something similar, right? This would be the only other case, right? The only other bullish case where AMC starts turning around. Other than that, if we trade lower and lower and we're in that dollar range going into the penny range, then obviously things don't become bullish there, as we've seen with other stocks in the past. So it's very important that AMC does turn around here for it to see, more of that bullish potential here in the coming months. All right. Okay, guys. That's it for today's video. Hope you liked it. Check out the Discord below if you want to try out Platzi and chill with the squad in there as well. And then also get access to these indicators. This is the next indicator I'm going to be posting, so stay tuned for that. This is going to be next on the list. We'll have access for anybody that does want to use it. Check that out, guys, and I'll see you on the next stream. Bye-bye.